It was a tragic scene that no one in the small, tightly connected community of Belen, New Mexico could have ever imagined. A home turned into a sight of unspeakable sorrow, a family shattered, and a 16-year-old boy at the center of it all. This horrifying story began with a phone call that still echoes in the hearts of many. In the early hours of December 14th, 16-year-old Diego Leyva dialed 911 and, with slurred words and a trembling voice, confessed to the dispatcher that he had done something unimaginable. He had killed his parents and siblings. His words were chillingly straightforward and devoid of any emotion, as if the weight of his actions hadn't fully settled in. When deputies arrived at the home shortly after receiving the call, they were greeted by an eerie stillness. Diego emerged from the house, his hands raised in surrender, reeking of alcohol and visibly intoxicated. He offered no resistance as officers took him into custody. Inside the home, the deputies uncovered a scene that would haunt them long after that night. The lifeless bodies of 4 family members, 42-year-old Leonardo Leyva, 35-year-old Adriana Bencomo, 16-year-old Adrian, and 14-year-old Alexander, were found inside the house. Each victim had suffered fatal gunshot wounds. The youngest siblings, Adrian and Alexander, were particularly beloved in the neighborhood. Their sudden, violent deaths were a shock to the community. A handgun was recovered from the kitchen table, its ominous presence further solidifying the grim reality of what had occurred. Diego was immediately transported to a nearby hospital, not for injuries but to detox from the excessive alcohol in his system. The combination of his intoxication and his confession left law enforcement and the community grappling with the same question: why? What could have possibly driven a seemingly ordinary teenager to commit such a horrific act against his own family? Authorities moved quickly to charge Diego with 4 counts of first-degree murder. He was booked into the Juvenile Justice Center in Albuquerque less than 24 hours after the incident. Yet, even as the legal process unfolded, a significant piece of the puzzle was missing: the motive. There were no clear answers, no immediate evidence to suggest why Diego had committed such a heinous crime. But as news of the tragedy spread, the community of Belen was plunged into a state of mourning and confusion. Neighbors described the Leyva family as quiet, kind, and loving. To those who knew them, nothing about Diego or his upbringing hinted at the dark turn his life would take. Questions arose, but few answers followed. Had Diego shown any signs of emotional distress? Was there tension within the family? Or had this been a sudden alcohol-fueled act of violence? Investigators from the New Mexico State Police Investigations Bureau and crime scene team worked tirelessly to uncover what led up to the tragedy, but so far their findings had remained under wraps. In the days that followed, the Belen Consolidated Schools District, where Diego and his siblings had been students, issued a public statement. The tragedy was felt not just by those who personally knew the Leyva family, but by the broader school community as well. Artful creatures that remind us of the beauty of the natural world. We are deeply saddened and shocked by the tragic event involving the killing of his family by a BHS student this past Saturday, wrote Superintendent Lawrence Sanchez, and our hearts go out to the victims, their loved ones, and everyone impacted by this devastating loss. And so Sanchez's words reflected the collective grief and disbelief shared by the community. He went on to stress the importance of mental health awareness and creating a nurturing environment for students. Additional counseling services were made available to students and staff grappling with the emotional aftermath of the tragedy. The school district also vowed to work closely with law enforcement and community leaders to understand how such a tragedy could occur. It is our collective responsibility to ensure our children and families feel safe, supported, and valued, Sanchez emphasized. His words were a call to action, a plea for vigilance in identifying and addressing the struggles faced by young people. The incident also reignited a broader conversation about the pressures faced by teenagers, the role of mental health, and the responsibility of communities to intervene before tragedies unfold. Was Diego's act the result of years of unresolved emotional turmoil? Had there been warning signs that went unnoticed or unaddressed? Or was this an isolated incident born out of a moment of intoxicated rage? As the investigation continues, the New Mexico State Police have kept details about their findings closely guarded. However, some information has trickled out. It was reported that Diego was heavily intoxicated when he called 911, leading some to speculate that alcohol might have played a significant role in his actions that night. But alcohol alone couldn't explain the extent of the violence, leaving many to wonder what deeper issues might have been at play. In the meantime, the community has rallied together to support one another in their grief. Vigils have been held in memory of Leonardo, Adriana, Adrian, and Alexander, with friends, neighbors, and even strangers coming together to light candles, share memories, and offer prayers for the victims. The Leyva home, once a place of family gatherings and everyday life, now stands as a grim reminder of the tragedy. Flowers, notes, and photographs have been placed outside the house as a makeshift memorial. For many in Belen, the act of leaving a token of remembrance has become a way to process their shock and sorrow. Diego's future now lies in the hands of the justice system. As he awaits trial, questions about his mental state and the circumstances leading up to the murders remain unanswered. Legal experts have noted that while Diego is being held at a juvenile detention center, the severity of his crimes could result in him being tried as an adult. If convicted, he could face life in prison. This possibility has sparked debate within the community and beyond. Some argue that Diego, despite his actions, is still a teenager and should be given a chance at rehabilitation. Others believe that the gravity of his crimes demands the harshest possible punishment. It's a polarizing issue, one that underscores the complexity of the case and the emotions it has stirred. This heartbreaking story serves as a reminder of the fragility of human connections and the importance of addressing mental health issues, particularly among young people. While the full truth of what happened that night may never be known, the tragedy of the Leyva family has left an indelible mark on the community of Belen. As they mourn and search for answers, one hope remains universal: that such a tragedy will never happen again. In the end, this is more than just a story about a crime. It's a story about a community's grief, its resilience, and its determination to heal in the face of unimaginable loss.